Yeah, hello, dear colleagues. Today I will share what I gained and what I investigated about ISO. It would be in an interactive format, so I will sometimes ask some questions, and please unmute yourself and ask or answer depending on the context. So, first of all, could you please raise your hand or drop the message, kind of plus sign in the chat, if someone already worked on organizations with ISO or implemented some quality approaches in a company, or at least have some knowledge about what ISO is. Do I have such people on a call? Nope. Okay. Okay. So all ISO standards related to the quality. So ISO, it's International Organization for Standardization. They sit in Switzerland, and they had few major countries who established this after World War II. And they developing a lot of standards, so huge amount of standards they develop and they share and they implement. Mostly these standards related to quality and quality management systems. I wanted to talk based on this ISO 13485 standard. It's international standard for quality management system for medical device industry. They had like I will split this to two major parts.
Відпускати так збирається.
Julia, can you please mute yourself? Yeah. So these two pieces related for medical devices, they are related to quality itself, to processes, documentation, development, and so on. And another not crucial for us, not interesting part is about workplace ergonomics, things related to how according to standards, we need to utilize devices we produce, but we do not produce devices, so it's not relevant to us. And other things related to how to name it, how to sanitize devices and all the things. So we will focus only on development part and will not discuss things related to recycling and all that ergonomics things. So yeah, as you see that this standard, which they harmonized with ISO 9001, which is also very famous. I suspect a lot of companies, even if you was not aware of this, a lot of developer, like software developer companies aligned with this ISO 9001 standard. So quality management system, what is it in a nutshell? It's a set of policies, rules, and approaches which are related to the customer satisfaction. And when we talking about ISO, we're thinking about how our development or our delivery will fit requirements of the customer. For this, we doing all these audits, iterations to check the quality on the projects, with getting feedback from customers. So during my talk, you will see some similarities with processes, policies, and approaches we have in Rollups. So what is important? It's a scope of quality management system, so what is covered. documented quality policies, quality objectives. It also thinks we documenting on our projects and in rollups, documented procedures established for QMS. Sounds very similar to previous item, but procedures established for QMS, it's thing which dedicated to management of the standards. So procedures which include support from management side, support of leaders on the projects, and all the things related to to maintain this process. Yes, not to quality in the organization, but it's about maintaining this process to ensure the quality. Description of maintenance and documents control. Documents control is quite interesting thing. For developers, it would be very similar to Git. Yeah, so in Git, if we're making changes to the code base, we fixing in our commits what changes were made, by whom, and so on. So documents control, it's similar thing, but related to documents. So when we create some document or we contribute in some document, so we're doing, for example, planning or description of some feature, we always need to track who made changes to this requirement, when, and we need to be sure that the person who made these changes are permitted to do these changes. So it's not like open standard. It can be that we will have some documents and descriptions and areas with limited access. QMS implementation, it's actually how organization can start to have it, to have the standards on board. So it's management responsibility, first of all. It also take into account resource management. In our case, we consider under resource the people of company, employees. Product realization, it's how exactly this code or functionality delivered to the user. In measurement, analysis, and improvement, it's actually ongoing things we need to do when we developing some product to our customer. Yeah, and we need to measure how fast we move, how much features we can deliver in some amount of time. We do analysis of some issues or problems we encounter. And improvements, it's our next steps on how to actually address issues found and improve. I will split and talk more about these sections. So management responsibility. Management commitment, I think it's more or less clear. So top management, middle management, who are project managers and team leads, should be committed to quality, and it should be documented, processed, and should work according some rules. Customer focus, also clear. I think if something not clear, please ask questions. Customer focus, it's what related to customer requirements. Quality policy, it's a description of what we exactly consider as a quality or lack of quality. Planning, again, for us, it's agile approach. Yeah, so we have iterations, we planning some scopes, and then we delivering these scopes, but it also related to the planning of how we improve quality in scope of organization, not only the one separate project, one particular project, but also how we do this in company. Responsibility, authority, communication, it's related to permissions, decision making, who responsible for what, how it should be communicated, and so on. Management review, it's a step, iterational step of reviewing all of these items. So a little bit more Top management provide evidence of their commitment to developing and implementing an effective QMS. Top management determines the need of QMS in order to meet customer requirements. And top management establish an appropriate and effective quality policy, which is communicated to the organization and reviewed for suitability. So it's essentially what I said. Planning. Top management ensures the quality objectives and measurable and consistent with quality policy, and changes to the system are planned and maintained. I think most interesting item here is responsibility, authority, and communication. So what do you think? It's a question to audience. What do you think is a way how we communicate such things in roll-ups? Any ideas? Maybe into the chat, maybe by voice. So what this item means to you? Maybe with some quick example. You know how to see the chat in Zoom when I conducting the speech. We're struggling with this. Okay. Okay, now I see chat. So responsibility, I think it's something we have in Zoho. So in Zoho we have organizational structure, and based on the organizational structure, who should report to whom, we can understand the responsibility and authority. For communication, we're using mostly Slack, and we have that paid version which persists messages, and it's not like for the short time. I think we can get back into the history of any Slack chat and see messages which are already for years. Yeah, so something can be extracted from there. And also emails. By the way, Jira, Confluence, Google Drive, spreadsheets, it's also a way of communication. So please pay attention to this and react if you're receiving some requests for help and for review. Management review is thing related to how we conduct review of these artifacts. So in Rollups, we do this on monthly meetings. We have KPI metric meeting to summarize the metrics we collect from different departments. So we're collecting finance, we're collecting recruitment, HR, engineering, updates, delivery, sales and marketing. So all these pieces are collected and reviewed regularly, and we also including into this SQM our survey, which also reviewed, and issues from it we addressing. So yeah, resource management, it's another section of quality management. So it consists of two sections. It's provision of resources and human resources. So provision of resources, it's I will read from the screen. Yeah. So the organization must identify and make available the resources for organization and ongoing increases in the QMS and improvement in the level of customer satisfaction and regulatory compliance. It means that we as organization or we as a team on particular project need continuously review our needs. Yeah, so if, for example, we need additional QA hours, or we need some external audit to do penetration testing, or we need some I don't know, to pass some certifications needed by the client. We need to raise this, and we need to describe the actually two important characteristics. It's timeline and budget. We need to explain this, and then we need to expect some decisions here. So if we adding this additional QA, if we spend and invest budget to learn some new things needed to the project. So for everything of this, it's like provision of resources, and we need to see what we need in some point of time and consider this, yeah, and maybe it can be postponed decision, maybe it can take some months or two, so we need to do this in advance. Human resources, it's personnel whose action impact product quality must be competent to work on products based on their education, training, skills, and experience. What it mean? It means that if we have a healthcare project, we need to allocate to this healthcare project people who know about this domain, who possess necessary knowledge, who knows about compliances. So it's essentially what we have on Credo Health, what we have on FDS, when a client said that it's mandatory to pass HIPAA certification. On other projects, we have requests related to serverless or related to databases. So for us, it's mandatory to be sure that we allocate competent people to the proper project. Yeah. And again, maybe you have some ideas or I don't know, questions related to what departments are working on human resources. So what are departments in REL Labs who work on this? Any ideas?
HR department, isn't it?
Yeah, HR's for sure, but also like everything inside the organization is interconnected. And when HR's working on, I don't know, on improving some skills, it's definitely the way of proper resource management and ensuring that someone can improve their skills and be allocated to the project and deliver the functionality and quality to the customer. But what if we do not have enough engineers? So we need to allocate someone with proper knowledge to the project, but we do not have such person in the company.
Then it's recruitment department, if there is such.
Yes, yeah. So another crucial department who work on this and responsible for this is the recruitment. And it's like transitive connection. Engineering should provide the service to hire such people. Yeah, so recruitment can do some part of the work, but engineering need to do other part of the work. Yeah, and as a result, we will have a person who will possess necessary knowledge and can work on the project. Yeah, so these things are like mostly related to recruitment and HR, but it also related to rotations between the projects, yeah, or when delivery knows that some project will end in a few weeks or in 1 month, and we can catch also good people, yeah, good engineers or good managers who can be allocated to this new project. So it's work like this. Infrastructure. So, organization is responsible for establishment and upkeep of infrastructure required to provide customers with product according to specifications, with examples of what is meant by infrastructure spelled out. Again, question to you. Please be active. What do you think we can consider as infrastructure for labs? What can be considered as infrastructure? Okay, a lot of participants.
Can you give me a tip, probably?
Yeah. So it's
Like,
it's
because-
actually this like in this paragraph.
Yeah, because like talking about the organization and like infrastructure, we can say like the whole roll-ups is the organization who is responsible for establishment and keep the infrastructure required to provide customers with products according to specifications.
Yeah,
So
so,
they can say like for the roll-ups the whole unit, isn't it?
Yeah, but here we can go a bit lower in this like abstract hierarchy. So we can go and see what actually can be considered as infrastructure on the project. Yeah. So on the project we have usually we have two things. It's local infrastructure, which needed to develop something, and remote infrastructure. Yeah. So it can be kind of so it can be maybe cloud infrastructure or on-premise infrastructure. So it's just two things for us. Yeah. Now, if we will develop some devices, IoT devices, it will be more complex. Yeah, because you need some stands, you need some additional equipment. But for us, usually infrastructure is our notebook, which are provided by company, or person can use his or her own notebook to develop. And remote infrastructure, it can be AWS account, GitHub, Bitbucket, whatever. So all the systems, and again, we trying to keep up with what we have on the project, and understand what we use on our side, what we use on third-party side, and so on. So yeah, work environment, encourage management to maintain the work environment so as to improve employee motivation, satisfaction, performance, and improve organization performance. Identify 7 aspects of work environment that should be evaluated in developing or revising the work environment. So for us, work environment, it's mostly how we communicate, what we do, because like physical work environment, because we are remote first, are on the side of employee, of partner. Yeah, so we currently focusing on healthy communication, keeping teammates up to date, keeping client up to date, all the things. It's like 90, maybe 80% of this item. Okay, product realization. So the part of standard emphasize the importance of planning and defining the stages and process involved in product realization, ensuring that the product meets customer and regulatory requirements. So again, if you have short notes, please drop in the chat or interrupt me. But in our context, product realization is actually our delivery. Yeah. So in a nutshell, it's code. In like most of the cases, it's a code. Code is the result. Yeah. So behind some 1 or 2 line changes in our pull requests or in our commits can be a lot of discussions, a lot of documentation, a lot of testing, a lot of other things related to, I don't know, release, post-release maintenance, and so on and so on. But in a nutshell, it's a code. Yeah. And here, in our context, planning of product realization rotates or revolving around the code and how we deliver this code and what steps we have during this process. Yeah, so do we have code reviews? Do we do some additional explanations in our pull request? Do we using screenshots? Do we recording a video? How we informing the clients about the releases? How often we do the releases? What issues we having after releases? So all around this process, yeah, and every piece of this process can be simple, but in like like when it go all together, it became a more complex thing. And even if you think that you have small change to the code base, it means that this change still should be managed inside the code. It should be reviewed. After that, it should be tested. After that, it should be released. So even simple, small fix or small feature still in this flow. Yeah, and we need to be sure that our flow are stable, clean to others, clean to the customer. Yeah, so if on the final steps we have user acceptance testing, we need to be sure that this process clear and client understand how to do this user acceptance testing, how we should process results or bugs found by a user, by client on this stage, how to address it, how to improve, and so on. So this is that part. Customer-related processes, determination of requirements related to product, review of requirements related to product, communication. So what do you think in our process related to customer requirements? Question to audience.
Anything that related to a product customer want to receive. So like he wants cloud agnostic solution, or I don't know, like some local thing, or I don't know. So like any requirements that customer comes to us, any requirements he have in
Yeah,
requirements documents.
in terms of artifacts, how it can look like. Any known way of getting requirements?
Well, for us, it's
Maybe
mostly
Nikki?
the backlog.
Yep.
So most of the requirements are in Jira, and if we are mostly using Agile, our requirements would be just the backlog.
Yep, for ongoing project, it's true. For a new project, what can be requirements?
Document with requirements that shows what customer exactly needs.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, so during development of some product, we need to be sure that we have some clean way or like pipe of how we can get the requirements. And as one very good developer said, that developers need one clean place where they can get the requirement and work with it. So if we're using Agile, Jira and Backlog is a very good place for this. And actually the industry standard for software development, but for a lot of other productions, is to have like clean understanding how we collect these requirements, then how we structure them, and where should every team member get these requirements. Yeah, it can be in form of ticket or sub-ticket or epic or whatever. Yep. Design and development. So this quite obvious. Yeah, so we're designing systems, we're designing architecture, we're designing code, we're designing database, and so on. Development is actually our day-to-day work. Purchasing process and verification of purchased product. It's like not the thing we always do, or not the thing we always know how to do properly. It's related to the process of finalization. Yeah, so if we have some short-term project, we need at some point we need to finalize it. We need to understand that customer accepted it and happy with this. Yeah, and we from time to time having issues on engagement and pre-sale stage, or on design stage, or on development stage, when we do not have this finalized process. Yeah, when, like, to simplify, like when client came into some shop, bought something, and went without money, but with some product. Yeah, so this is that final stage, and it's quite important, especially when you have some internal standard of how to do this and how to address issues. Yeah, because it's possible that on some final stage, client will be not satisfied and will require some additional development or fixes or something. So it's quite important thing, and I feel that we can improve it, definitely. Production and service provision. What do you think is this? So we already talked about planning. We already talked about development and delivery and the final stage when we sell something to the customer. What is this item? What is this item about? What do you think? What parallels we have with our current projects, with our development based on Agile?
Testing activities.
Testing, but testing is also part of development. Yeah, so when we're developing, then we testing, then we deliver, and that's all. But this is a separate part.
Maybe IPMs or retrospective meetings.
Also good, but still, it's yeah, we can do actually retrospective after the product was delivered. Yeah, and we can have some kind of homework and so on. So yeah, it's good example, but it's
maybe it's about the delivery itself, meaning like some agreements when we would deliver things, some iterations. I mean, just the delivery of the code, of the result, the feature, whatever is agreed upon.
Yeah, it's also that. It's also that. But I think what you're saying is yeah. So let me put it in this way. I think we need to differentiate ongoing projects and some end project, yeah, which was done and was delivered. So for ongoing project is actually maintenance. So when we going and delivering and projects are long and we like working on time and material basis, deliverable is some feature or some set of features we delivered during the sprint. And this page or this section of quality management is about when we delivered some features, what will happen. Yeah, so what how it will be used in production, how it will be used by our client or by our client users, what they will say about this, what feedback they will send to us. So it's about maintenance. So it's about post-release maintenance. Yeah, so we have iterations with releases, and for every iteration, we can consider one release as deliverable. So client paid money, we delivered this release, and after that, we need to be sure that we will collect any complaints, any bugs, and we will know how to address them. So this is about this approach. Does it make sense?
Could I ask a question about traceability and control? What is meant by that? So you mentioned bugs. So
Yes.
Can we consider this as a traceability? So for example, we have all of the items that it's kind of needed to be fixed after the release. Would that be a traceability point in here, or it means something else?
No, it will be traceability. So like I will explain on examples. Yeah. So first example, we have some release. We delivered some features and we didn't not enlisted what features we delivered. We just like assuming that client will be aware of this, but they never do. Yeah, and we delivered this, and then our client got some bugs and raised this on the call. Yeah, said like here, and here we have issues. Then he sent these issues by email to the project manager, and then he went to the team lead because it was like convenient in Slack, and also mentioned that we have other issues. Yeah, so we have 3 sources of like requests, and we didn't manage them properly and fix some bugs. Other was lost. Yeah, and we delivered the new release. Client expected that we addressed all the issues mentioned in private chat in Slack, on the call by voice, in the email. So client will expect for sure that all features, all fixes will be released. But usually it's don't. Yeah, and another case when we collecting all these requests, all these bugs, it can be Jira, most useful way, maybe spreadsheet or whatever. Any place, yeah, we can collect, like we're free to do this, but we have best practices to do this in Jira, yeah, or other ticket tracking system. And when we collected this, we indeed have who reported this bug, when it was reported, when we started to work on this bug and address it, and how and by whom it was resolved. Yeah. So this is essentially traceability and control. This is what you said, Julia. Does it make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So service and activities is about maintenance if we got some issues or bugs. And control of production and service provision, it's about release notes. Installation activities is how we doing release or how the client can onboard to use some new functionality. Yeah, and traceability and control we discussed. Validation of process for production and service provision, it's actually what should be audited from time to time if we have all of these things in place. Measurement, analysis, and improvement. So it's what I already explained, but in more details. So it's a feedback. Again, we need to be sure that we know some direct and straightforward way to collect this feedback, and we should nurture our clients to do this in some structured way. Unless we will lose the tickets and the client would not be happy with our service. Complaint handling, it's again, if any bugs or non-working functionality or whatever, we need to manage this. Reporting to regulatory authorities, it's quite interesting item related to fintech and healthcare. Any ideas what can be included here? What can be the case or example when we need to report to regulatory authorities, when we as a vendor, not even our client?
Can it include something like personal data of people, of end users, maybe some GDPR rules, or I'm going too deep with that?
No. It's related to any regulations which we need to be compliant. So we need to be, for example, for healthcare projects, we need to be compliant with GDPR, with HIPAA for United States, and this item is related to some breaches. So, for example, our system of our client experienced some attack, some user or patient data was exposed, and so on. We need to inform as soon as possible our customer about this issue and do every measure on our side to support this customer with any issues following. Yeah. And why is this important? Because usually the penalty for such issues is money. Yeah, so it can, in case of issues with exposing payment data or personal data, personal identifiable data, which is a set of some user fields. So if we will, for example, I don't want to say we in this example, but if on some project, some names of users was exposed, it's not a person identifiable data, because you can find any like person in the internet with a high chance, and you will have this name. And there are also public demography databases in several countries. So just name, it's not a person identifiable data. But if you have the set of such fields like name, date of birth, and social security number, or date of birth, social security number, and phone number, or other set of fields which can like identify particular person, it's dangerous information in terms of regulations and risks, and you should be very careful with this. So healthcare information, finance information, it should not be disclosed. And if some issues appears, we need to proactively inform our client, and our client should proactively address this to avoid fines. Or as a preventive action, we need to be sure using some automated checks for security, for infrastructure, automated checks for front end. We should know that standards like OWASP, OWASP, we need to comply with high trust, HIPAA, GDPR, CCPA, PCI, DSS, and other standards relevant to the project. And we need to, for some projects, we also need to consider penetration testing. If our client not aware that healthcare and fintech providers should be compliant and should pass these penetration checks regularly, we need to escalate this, yeah, and inform that it's highly recommended things to consider. Yeah, internal audit, it's what I already said, according to internal SQM. I forgot the software quality management. Yeah. According to SQM, we need to be sure that we have all practices and approaches and policies in place for our projects. Monitoring and measurement of process, monitoring and measurement of product. It's related to process is like simple metrics like velocity, like amount of features, lines of codes, whatever. And measurement of product, it's what actually was delivered and what bug leakage we had. And again, what can be improved. Analysis of data and improvement.
Sorry, Daniel, can I ask a quick
Yep.
question? We talked a lot about the regulations, and I thought about the SLA. This is not a regulation, but for us, it's basically the rules as well. And something like where that thing lies. So is this in the measurement and monitoring, or it's or it's
I think it's lay in production and service provision.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And because SLA stays for service layer agreement when we need to react for some period, like we should react, for example, if we have production issue which blocking users, we need to react during 2 hours, or if we are on a weekend, we should react immediately, or after I don't know, after business day started, something like this. Is it was what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just
so
if it should be after the delivery. So you showed that several slides, and I was wondering where it fits, because I
yes,
have a few assumptions about it.
yes, it's related to servicing activities. So everything related to maintenance and addressing issues after the release. Yeah. So yeah, on measurement, analysis, and improvement, we actually should measure like things like we had 3 requests last month. and all requests was addressed during SLA, or one from these three requests was not addressed in the time we committed, and it should be improved. Yeah, so customer was happy when we addressed 2 issues on production very quickly during 1 hour, but customer was not happy when we addressed some issue on production during the next day. So even not the day when it was raised. Makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and on this stage, we need actually to understand, yeah, what should we correct? Yeah, in our case with ZLA, we understand that we have 2 good cases and 1 not very good case. Yeah, so 1 case which was not addressed in timely manner should be corrected, and we should have all 3 cases when client do request and we quickly addressing it. And preventive action, it's about how to avoid actually issues. Yeah, so how to avoid issues on production, or how to avoid exposing of patient or user data, how to avoid like some how to name it, some redundant testing or some redundant processes. So what should we do, or what can we do to prevent these issues? I recommend actually to use these 3 simple questions when you're addressing any issue on production, on I don't know, on some infrastructure which is used by you. So it doesn't matter what issue you have, but when you work especially in the team, or it's affecting the client, it's a very simple approach. Yeah. So we definitely should always understand what is the root cause of the issue. So we do not manage symptoms, and we should not manage the consequences. We need to understand what is the root cause of the issue, and or root cause issue, which we need to address and resolve, and it means that we will kill any other risks right away. How was the issue resolved? It's in healthcare projects, it's mandatory actually. If there are some incident happen, we always documenting the root cause, and we documenting how the issue was resolved. Do someone know why it's important to document and let teammates know how the issue was resolved when some issue appeared and we understood the root cause and we resolved this issue? Why it's important to let everyone know how it was resolved and document this? What can be benefits from this? I think guys from healthcare projects should know about this. So if we have someone from healthcare projects, please. Okay, so how was the issue resolved is important, because if similar issue will appear, we will know how to resolve it. And another thing that usually, як то кажуть українською, біда не приходить одна. And when we have one issue, it usually means that some issue will also appear, and it actually will be related to this issue we encountered. So if it's clean and expected, then we will have the situation when team aware, and the issue will be easily resolved. I saw a lot of the cases in my in my experience when team team members was isolated or were isolated, and they fixed issues separately, but issues was related to each other, and it was like double or triple time spent on this. And the last item here, what should be done to avoid this issue in the future? So it's again about customer happiness or customer satisfaction. Customer will not be ready to accept that one issue appeared 3, 4, or more times. Customer expects that we always finding issue, resolving it, and ensuring that issue will not appear. So it's very important. Yep.
Are all of these things just on related on a project level, or we are talking about some lessons learned that are shared within the company, meaning that it might be useful for another project, and we have
Yes.
something like you. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's both. So it's related to the project. It's applicable to any level of abstraction. So you can do this on a project, and you can have only one engineer who do this. And even in this case, if engineer will be disciplined and will document issues and how it was resolved and how to avoid it, even for the one engineer will be useful. But it's also useful for the project team. It's also useful for on organization level when we communicating with the client as an organization on account management calls. So for any process, it's quite effective thing.
One more question. Sorry, Daniel.
Yep.
So there is a good practice and some companies to have some documents, some lessons learned, especially when the project is ending. And I was wondering, do we have such a practice in the company or not?
No, I think it's not. So to clarify, I consider something are working on organizational level if it works for everyone. Yeah. So I cannot say it's working in our company because I know that on some projects we do this, lessons learned, but it's not like conducted always, and it's not mandatory. So it's quite mosaic. Yeah. So for some projects we have this, for some we do not.
Okay,
And
thank you.
I think this can be explained because we have this understanding and like division, like if the project big, if the project have a lot of people who are working on it, or is it project small and have only one person who work on it. So we differentiate by this criteria. And for the projects with more people on board, I think it's a good practice. It's a good thing to have. But if not to invent something additional, I think this lessons learned is actually retro from Scrum ceremonies. Yeah, so you can do this iterationally for every sprint and collect this. So it also
Yeah,
can
what
be
I meant is that it's not that useful to go into such details when you're sharing some lessons learned on a company level, you know. So it's usually something more general. Like, for example, we should be careful with this and this and this if we go and pick the fixed price project because we had cases like this and this and something like that. So in my mind, the way of capturing lessons learned is way different when you're doing this on a project level and on an organizational level.
Okay. Okay, understood. I think if we treat this as an abstract concept or abstract flow, it can be more or less similar for any level, but really will depend on the implementation. So yeah, I think like this. Yep. Any other questions? No? Okay. So it's actually summary. Yeah. So I think this text is copy-pasted summary from what is ISO standards in a nutshell. And I will read the main idea and final goal of ISO standards for IT and industry is to establish a framework for quality management systems that enhance customer satisfaction and continuous improvement in organizational processes. So as I said on the start, almost any ISO standard revolving around these two items, customer satisfaction and continuous improvements in organizational processes. And if you will see in a partner organization or in roll-ups some items related to ISO, you can expect that in most of the cases it will be related to the quality or to some processes, and it's not more than kind of universal list of processes, approaches to actually establish the quality management system in the company, and then to maintain this process. Yeah, so how to manage this with a focus on the quality, not to have chaos and have more structure and more discipline for the client. Any questions, reflections?
Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, thank you a lot.
Good. I think we do not have in chat. So yeah, if you will be interested to deep a bit more in this topic, Maria Olinik and Katerina Horodova conducted a short investigation, and they actually collected the list of materials which can be learned. So it's as usual courses and books, and I finished one book, and maybe we'll start another one from that list. So I highly recommend. I will drop the link to this document in the general. So I highly recommend to be aware of this. I'm not saying that it's necessary to start to read these books or like to conduct some I don't know, investigations related to the content, but just to be aware that we have this knowledge, and yeah, we can support. I think that's all. Thank you very much for everyone.
Thank you.